Hey, I'm back. This is part two, and we're continuing to talk about utilitarianism. If you remember, we had consequences on this side, we had moral actions on this side. Okay, I'm writing that bigger now because this is part two, and you continue to fill it in. Obviously, you can write with a little finer point. We were making a connection from utilitarianism to the soda ban article, Three Cheers for the Nanny State. And here are some of the political cartoons that we looked at then, but let's look at them now by way of reviewing what it was about. Michael Bloomberg wanted to ban uh, sodas over 16 ounces in the city, and there was a lot of pushback from people that did not like it. Um, his reasoning is really captured well by this cartoon here, and let's see if we can draw on it. No, it's not letting me. All right, but his reasoning here was I get to make my own choices. We should put choices here by consequences. Okay? Choices. Choices. Right? I get to make my own choices, says the American citizen, the New York citizen. And this is Uncle Sam, and he represents the government. And it would be a good idea to put government on this as well. Government. I get to pay for them, he says. And there's a health bill. This is diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, heart consequences, right? Those are the consequences of his choices. So the article in the What Matters unit is um, freedom of the press. Whoopsie daisy. Ah, here we are. In the John Stuart Mill article, if everybody could turn, please, in their books to page 277. And this is the Three Cheers for the Nanny State. Oh, look at that big soda there. Okay, right? And a nanny state is a negative nickname for the welfare state, which is a model of government that takes direct responsibility for protection and well being of its citizens. Welfare states offer basic social support such as free health care or low income housing, but also create laws and policies to attempt to control or influence how people behave. Right? What does this have to do with utilitarianism, you might ask? Right? Well, for the moral actions, we can put up here nanny state. Nanny state, right? AR has a negative connotation. We can put a little negative sign next to it, but it's trying to achieve positive consequences. Positive consequences. Okay. What positive consequences is it trying to achieve? Well, it's trying to stop these things here, right? Health bill is trying to solve public health issues. Okay. So let's take a look see in the What Matters unit. All right, we're all on page uh, 277. Okay, let's take a moment and talk about some of the issues in this for our scavenger hunt. Okay, so one of the quotes that we return to a lot is large cups of soda, symbols of human dignity. Really? Right? That was a quote that we came to or came back to again and again and again and again. Why? Because human dignity is one of the big central concerns of this unit, right? So let's put human dignity here. Human, H, dignity, D, okay? And human dignity here had to do with the idea of soda bans. Now, I like soda. I like soda too, but that has very little to do with my dignity. Whereas some people, it was a much bigger deal for them, right? Oop, it works when I don't want it to work. Huh, stinking thing, right? So here, there's a state or a government yelling at someone. Here, you see the soda squad going after someone. You see a kid being drawn on. But these cartoons are, uh, well, in my personal opinion, a little bit out of pocket. They really oughtn't to equate human dignity and soda in the same sentence. There are more serious issues at play, right? So let's talk about some of these more serious issues now. Um, if you take a look, what issues are worth defending? And this can be found on page, right at the beginning, page 262. Take a moment to turn to page 262. When is it right to take a stand? What issues are worth defending in today's complex world? It's important to get our priorities straight. Each of us must decide for ourselves what matters most: a principle, another human being, or the right to express ourselves. As you read, you'll work with your whole class to explore some of the issues that have caused people to take a stand. Right? Well, we can think for a moment what some of these issues are, and we can write them right here underneath this page now that we've had a chance to read most of this unit. Some of the reasons were the soda ban, right? It's a little tough to see. I don't really like yellow that much. Let's go for bigger font, ban. Ooh, that's better. So we can write ban there. What else can we write? Well, what were some of the other issues in this unit? Stay on this page, but I'm going to take you on a quick tour. Some of the other issues were the freedom of the press. All right, we talked about at the very beginning of the unit the First Amendment, right? So when we talk about what we ought to take a stand for, especially as Americans or as people in America, we're talking about our rights. We're talking about the Constitution. I'm going to write const, all right? But you can write the whole Constitution there, okay? So we framed it in that way, and then we also took a look at issues of actual loss of human life. Well, the ultimate indignity is death, right? So we'll come back to the death of Native Americans. Half of this tribe was killed, but we remember that the number of total death was 130 million. Um, and then, of course, we were watching the movie and reading the nonfiction narrative Rabbit Proof Fence, where the girls were taken because they were half caste by the Australian government, right? So being taken from your family, being murdered and forced off your land, versus um, soda, having your sugary drinks taken away, right? So let's look at this list: ban, Constitution, but then we also have the right to stay with your family, the right to live, right? When we think of this in the larger consequence of what has bigger consequences, what doesn't, right? Well, if the consequence in some areas is death or being kidnapped, right, as a result of government choices versus being, I don't know, thirsty. Well, now we have an idea of what they might mean by utilitarianism. It focuses on the consequences of a moral action. Moral action, ban soda, right? That can lead to, I don't know, better health outcomes versus banning people from land versus taking them from their family and culture. That is completely uncalled for. And they're all in the same unit. Why? Because we're trying to examine what is worth taking a stand for, right? That's a central question. When is it right to take a stand? So, what I'd like you to do is to make some connections, okay? And I'm going to show you a series of slides that go with the idea of utilitarianism. And I'd like you to look at these images, and you can ask the person working the computer or screen to pause it whenever you need. But I'd like you to fill in more of this lattice and think more about this philosophy of utilitarianism in view of the soda ban and some of these other issues from Unit 3. Let's take a look. Here's a good one. See if we can get it a little bit bigger. No, we can't. Oh, there we are. Here's a lot of the stuff we have already. It's a little fuzzy. I'll admit it's a little fuzzy. this one too. And zoom in just a little bit. Oh, I like this image. And I love this question too. How useful is it as an ethical theory? That's an excellent one. Okay. Let's stop part two.